Hey, Uche.
How's it going, Morgan?
Good. How are you?
Doing well.
Awesome.
What did you enjoy doing as a kid?
I really enjoyed, uh, obviously, video games. I
hmm
loved hanging out with my brothers. Uh, I played a lot of soccer as well.
Soccer. Okay.
Um,
I also enjoy drawing and art. I think painting was more of my thing,
mm,
just because it's a bit more fun and the colors are a bit more vivid.
yeah.
How did your childhood environment lead you to becoming a student of engineering?
For one, my parents, they were immigrants from Nigeria, and so
Cool.
they were really wanting me and my brothers to do well in life. When they came, they didn't really have much, and so they didn't want us to struggle like they did, and so they were pretty hardcore about studying and getting good grades and stuff like that, which is completely understandable.
Mhm.
Obviously, we just wanted to play video games a lot, but
Mhm.
it helped at the end of the day.
Right. Right.
But I would say I think that structure that they gave was really helpful. I was really interested in messing with things, um, playing with Legos, and my dad was really big on math and science,
Okay.
and so, and it wasn't just for me. He made sure that all four of us, because I have three brothers, all four of us were really solid with our math and science, and he encouraged us to read a lot. And so, with that background, I think that's what always like encouraged me to make sure that I am practicing like different math and science skills, and also just reading things that I enjoy.
I think a lot of engineering students can probably relate.
All right.
Lego sort of introduced, the concept of building and engineering to us. And then I was lucky because I went to an elementary school that had a magnet program for robotics and STEM in general. And they had this after school robotics program that was centered around programmable Legos. And so that was where I started thinking about engineering as a possible career path for the future. Um, and then this was also, like you said before about art and drawing. I was doing that when I was really young and taking private lessons. My mom was sending me everywhere for private lessons for art. And I kind of, I think they're kind of similar. With art and engineering, there's
Yeah.
that element of creativity and you sort of just get to build or create whatever it is you think in your mind. So I always sort of liked that parallel between these two subjects. And so I guess that's what got me onto the engineering path. You think when you're going to, say, specialize in engineering or in math or in science or just some subject that we traditionally associate as the opposite of, say, humanities,
Yep.
history, whatnot. You think, all right, this is me ending my contract with the world of writing and literature arts and all of that. But these are like universal skills you can't run away
Right. Exactly.
from. Yeah, so that's funny.
What does it take to be a good engineer?
I don't know. I think from what I've noticed and what I've seen,
Mhm.
I think engineers are really big problem solvers.
Mhm.
Um, when they find something that, so I think it's a combination of two things. One,
Yeah.
they want to fix problems that directly affects them, but then they also want to fix problems that directly affects their community as well. And so I think um, when considering that, um, I think as we both talked, we were really interested in like either building things or um, helping people or I guess healing wounds. And so those are our different ways of like trying to, I guess, problem solve and try to figure out how to make the best out of that situation. And so I think when considering that, and then also when thinking about what engineers actually do for society, obviously they build buildings, bridges, spaceships, a bunch of different things, right? Because we're all just trying to solve a problem. And so I think that's one of the biggest things I would say.
Like, I think you'll notice that a lot of people who are very successful engineers, they have this sort of innate curiosity about just about things in general in the world. And so that sort of is what propels them to go out and try to solve problems with problems that they see, or tinker with stuff. And they're just, they're genuinely curious. And I think that almost makes them good problem solvers, because part of solving the problem is getting to know the problem. But you have to be open to ambiguity. And this is actually something I learned from an internship, is you have to not necessarily be comfortable with things that you don't know, but you have to be willing to kind of dive in and navigate through it, and not be upset about the fact that there's not always going to be the structure to how you do things. Being able to be an independent, self-driven thinker and doer is, I think, at least one of the things that makes someone, excel at engineering.
One of the biggest things about being an engineer is that you have to be like really persistent with how you go about solving a problem, because it's a fact that you probably won't solve the problem the very first time, and you'll probably even mess it up or make it worse. And then you're like, oh, well, now I have to solve an even bigger problem.
Right.
And so, but I think that's the thing. You have to be really persistent and not give up with whatever that problem that you're trying to solve.
What are some myths about engineering?
Math and science, they are sort of the foundation for a lot of engineering careers, but that by no means means that you have to be, an excellent student in math and science when you're first starting out. Because I was never that kid in school in general, even up to high school, who was always making the highest grades on like math or science exams. That was not me. It didn't click for me as early as, say, I hoped it would. And even to this day, math is still sort of a hard subject for me. I'll just go ahead and admit that. You don't have to be a prodigy at it. You can work hard and get to a level where it's sufficient and you can use it. And that's good enough. And you can keep working at it to get better. But yeah, you don't have to be that math and science genius that I think everyone makes out engineers or scientists to be. And that's sort of a myth, I think, that heavily surrounds the STEM field, and that puts off a lot of people who could be good mathematicians or engineers or scientists. And because of this, they sort of think that's not my thing.
I definitely agree with that. What you were saying about working hard, I think that's really important. I think practice is very, very important to just becoming an engineer. Honestly, you just have to practice, like whether it be your math problems or science related things or just physics problems. That's because that's what builds the experience. I think the best engineers are those that have a lot of experience with how to think about solving problems. And that experience comes from solving practice math problems or solving practice science problems. Like, I think that's why you really want to build that foundation of being able to understand math and science, because then obviously you'll use it to actually develop things, but then at the same time, you're developing another aspect of your problem solving skills. And I think that's, definitely so important.
Other advice for young students?
I think it's so important for, I think, especially younger students to realize that as long as you're willing to put in the extra time and the extra work and ask questions to people that have become what you're trying to do or what you're trying to become, I think you can really just actually complete and do your goal. Sometimes students just don't feel as if they're smart enough, or that they either don't have the same resources, or they don't have the same, like, I don't know, tablets or computers as maybe some other students might have. And that might very well be the case. I think one thing that you'll have to do is, again, you're going to have to try a little harder to, again, reach that point, to maybe be on the same level as a student that has maybe those extra resources. And I think I think it's a matter of just reaching out. I think you'll have to either reach out to your current teacher, like, hey, like, I'm really interested in this, but I don't have this, and I know that's the case, but I still want to see what is possible since I'm here, or since I'm doing this. And if that teacher, or if maybe that guidance counselor, or that guardian, maybe they can't help you, you might just have to ask someone else, or maybe they can direct you to someone that knows more about that field. But I think as long as you're asking questions and you're willing to, again, just put in the extra work to really become what you're hoping to do, that's the really most important thing. And I think that aligns really well with engineering. Just basically don't let anyone tell you that you can't be an engineer because you're not good at math, you're not good at science, or you don't think a certain way. If you're interested in that, yeah, you should just do it.
Yeah, no, I agree, definitely. And then I'll just add quickly that when you're, say, in elementary school or junior high or even high school, and you're trying these things and they don't work out for you the first time, when you're a young student, you can afford to try and fail and do that many, many times, because, frankly speaking, you've got time on your hands, right? Well, time in the long run, right? If on a particular day, I'm swamped with, I don't know, soccer practice, or I've got to play Pokemon with my friends or whatever. Yeah, okay, maybe that day you don't have time, but like in the long run, you can afford to take the time to fail and then just try again or try something else. And so use that to your advantage to try and fail many times. So yeah, no, that's definitely, I think, a very valuable point that I kind of wish someone told me when I was younger, because I think it's very often you feel this pressure to just do it once and do it right the first time. And if you only do that, then you've already closed off so many different avenues that you could have taken.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think sometimes as a society or as a community, we can be very results driven. And I think sometimes that is not always the best, especially when you're trying to either experiment or you're trying to try out stuff. And I think when you're a younger kid, you might have those extra pressures of like, oh, you got to make all those goals today when you go out on the field, or oh, you better be making all those A's. But I think it's really important to, in case you might miss a goal when you're playing soccer, or you might not do as well in test. Yes, like definitely, like it's fine to be upset. Like it's a human thing to do. But I think once you're done being upset, you then have to ask, okay, like, what did I do wrong, and how can I make that better? Like, if you're thinking of trying, if you missed a goal for soccer, you're like, okay, like this is the way I kicked, and then maybe you get some help. They're like, oh yeah, that's why you missed it. You were kicking wrong, and so you need to angle your foot this way, and then that's a way to learn, right? You're learning from your failure. And then with the test, like, just don't throw the test away as soon as. I did that sometimes. It was because I was upset. Don't do that. It's a learning experience. So like, get the test, and like, even though you don't want to look at it, really try to work through those problems that you might have messed up, and then you'll be ready for it if it comes across again. So I think it's taking it as a big learning experience.
Oh yeah, definitely.